So today my topic is to discuss about the environmental analysis. It's my topic. If I remind you what we have discussed up to now, so at the beginning we discussed how can we prepare a strategic plan for an organization. Special attention was given how a strategic plan can be developed for an educational institute. So that is what we have done up to now. We identify different components of a strategic plan. So vision, missions, values, goals, objectives, target. That was the starting point. Then we say that we have to analyze our environment. Environment can be divided in two parts: internal environment and external environment. Objective of analyzing the environment was to identify the first factor. Then, based on the first factors, we have to identify the appropriate strategies. Appropriate strategies. The study formulation could be done next. Right? Strategy formulations. So, India, first of all, we look at about what are the different study alternatives available. Then we go for evaluations. One of the model we can use is SAFE model, no? Suitability, acceptability, and feasibility. Right? We evaluate the strategic alternative, then we identify what is the best strategy or strategic alternatives we can implement in the real environment. Then the next thing we have to do is the implementation part. So we have to take action to implement the proposed strategy. So under the implementation part, leadership play an important role. Change management may be involved. Organized structure, culture may be addressed or maybe changed sometime, right? So then the final one is strategic control. No? Strategic control, what we are going to do under the strategic control is, so we identify some KPIs, then from time to time we check the progress of our work. If there are some deviations, for example, there are some unfavorable deviations, so we look at about the reason. Then we take the corrective action on that. That's the process we have identified. So we say that this what is we are included in a strategic plan is normally documented. Right? There's a document, and that document is not an open document. So what are the reasons behind that? So we identify all what we are going to do in the market, no? To get some advantage. If our competitors find this part, that will be an issue, right? To avoid that one, normally this competitive document is normally available for top level people. So that is what we have discussed, right? Now, the last time when we met, actually,
excuse me, it's not audible, sir.
Is that audible? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. hear me now?
Little bit audible, sir.
Now I think you can hear me properly. Okay. Now can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir, but not loud enough.
Okay. Yes, I also feel. Now you can hear me. Huh? Should be. Okay. Then you can't hear me.
Sorry, sir, not loud enough, sir.
Then for everyone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, for everyone.
Yes, sir. Yesterday it was very clear and loudy. Today is not.
What was what? Okay. Right. Not enough now? Can you hear me now? Hello. Can you hear me now? I hope now you can hear. Should be. I hope now you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Right. So what I have told you earlier is actually we discuss component to be included in strategic plan. That was the part we have discussed. Then we identify vision, missions, goals, then values, targets, objectives. Then we analyze the environment, our environment. We divide our environment into two main components: internal environment and the external environment. After we have analyzed the environment, we can identify SWOT factors, SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat. Then what we have done is we identify the next stage. It should be strategy formulations. Under strategy formulation, first of all, we have to identify strategy coordinators. Strategy coordinators, we have to evaluate them. We evaluate them. We can use a model like SAM, suitability, acceptability, and feasibility to evaluate strategy coordinators. Then we identify what are the best strategy coordinators. Then we are going to implement them. So implementation part. So under the implementation, there are some variable we have to give attentions. One is leadership. Leaders have to play an important role when we are going to implement the proposed strategies. Then sometime we have to do the change. So what is available may not be suitable for the proposed strategies. In that scenario, we have to introduce some changes, change management. Then when you look at about these changes, sometimes we have to do the changes in the structure at the same time in the culture. And therefore, we have to look at about structure and culture also under the implementation part. Then final one is strategic control. Strategic control. Under strategic control, what we are going to do is we are going to evaluate the progress of our strategy implementation activity. From time to time, we are going to look at about the progress. Then we compare actual result with the expected result. If there are some unfavorable variances, we identify reason for that. In other words, causes for that. Then we take the corrective actions. So this is the process normally we apply in strategic planning process. In the actually the last week we discussed vision, missions, values, goals, objectives, and targets. That part was covered. So today we are going to start our discussion from environmental analysis. Environmental analysis is our topic today. Right. So here actually what we are going to do is we are going to look at about our external environment. Under the environment analysis, we are going to look at about our external environment. Not going to look at about the internal environment. We are going to look at about the external environment in your next topic, chapter number 4. Chapter number 4, we are going to look at about the internal environment. Right. So we'll start our discussion by identifying what is the content of this topic. So first of all, I'm going to discuss what is environment. What is environment? Then I will look at about how external environment can be evaluated, scanned. So under that, we are going to look at about the pestle model. Then we look at about the microenvironment also bit. So that's also part of the external environment. Right. So first of all, we'll identify what is environment. What is environment? That should be the starting point. Right. What is environment? So if you look at about the environment, here we are going to look at about the organizational environment. Right. So we are looking about the strategic planning process for an organization. For an example, educational institutes. So therefore, we have to understand what is organizational environment. What is organizational environment? Right. If you look at about the organizational environment, so normally organizational environment can be divided into two main parts. That is internal environment and the external environment. Right? Internal and external environment. So first of all, we look at what is environment before looking about this component. So how can we define environment? In simple term, I can say environment include any party, factor, force. So I try to look at about the component of an environment. Therefore, what I can say is, I can say environment include any party, factor, or force which affect, or I can use the word influence, which influence organizational activities. Influence organizational activities. Any party, factor, force which influence organizational activities. I look at about the element or component of the environment. When I look at about that, I found mainly three variables. One is there are some parties, right? There are some parties. It can be employees, it can be shareholders, general public, bank and other financial institutions, media. Like that, there are some parties available. At the same time, there are some factors available. It can be, it can be compared to some of the factors, right? Oh, it can be include some forces, right? Like technological, some changes, forces, right? So like that, this include different components. That's why I identify any party, factor, force, right, which influence organizational activities, we identify under the environment, right? When you look at about the source of them, in other words, where they originate. When you look at about the source of them, some of them can be identified within the organizations. Some of them can be identified within the organizations. Some of them can be identified outside the organizations. Within the organization or outside the organizations. Right? So when you look at about that, so what we have done is any party, factor, or force which can be identified within the organizations, we identify as internal environment. That is identified as internal environment. Internal environment. Then any party, factor, or force which can be identified outside the organization. Outside the organizations, that means not within the organizations, right? Outer to the organizations, we identify as external environment. External environment. At external environment, right? Right. When you look at about these two, I will look at about each variable in details. When I look at about the external environment can be divided into two main elements, right? That is micro environment and the macro environment. Micro environment and the macro environment, right? Micro and macro environment, or we use some other word, task environment, immediate environment, is right by the task environment or immediate environment. Immediate environment, task or immediate environment. Macro, we call it as general environment. Sometimes I use the word mega environment, right? Mega environment, macro, general, mega, right? These are some of the different words used to identify the same, right? Identify the same. Right. Then, actually, if you look at about this, each component in the external environment, when you look at about this micro environment, I can say within the micro environment, we can identify the immediate stakeholders who are interested about the organizational activities. Stakeholders, right? Immediate stakeholders who are interested about the organizational activities, right? So here, mainly we look at about stakeholder part. Stakeholders. You know what, who is a stakeholder, no? Stakeholder mean any party who is having an interest about the organizational activities. They are concerned what is happening within the organization, right? So, for example, customers, then general public, right? Now, there's a small confusion. That's why I would be very careful here, right? About these writers. There's a small confusion among the writers on this, right? What is the confusion? See, sometimes what I have seen is, now here, some writers identify all stakeholders under the microenvironment. This is very careful, right? All stakeholders, whether they are internal or external, will not be considered. All stakeholders will be identified under the microenvironment. But some instances, what I have seen is only the external stakeholders. Only the external stakeholders are identified by some writers. In that scenario, you will not take some internal stakeholders like employees here. Did you get the point? It's a confusion, right? That's why I will be careful here. You don't want to worry much on that, right? So we'll consider this one as immediate stakeholders, right? So close stakeholders will be identified under the micro or task environment, right? Then macro environment. Macro environment, if you look at the macro environment, within the macro environment, we identify the broad forces in the economy. 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 So normally we use PESTEL to identify the broad forces. PESTELs. Political, economical, social, technological, ecological, legal. PESTEL is being identified under the macro environment. Right. This is the introductions part. I hope you got a good understanding on this one. If you have any questions, you can ask about these classifications. Right. Now, under the environment analysis, I have told you, we are mainly going to look at about the external environment. This is our concern. We are going to analyze our external environment, right? So, internal environment analysis will be done in the next topic. Chapter number 4. We'll discuss about this part, internal environment. This is not being addressed by us now. This will be handled under the chapter number 4. Chapter number 4, right? It's chapter number 3. Under chapter number 3, we are environmental analysis. We are going to look at about this part, external environment. Now, you know what is the objective of conducting the external environment? Here, the objective of conducting external environment is to identify opportunities and threats, right? By doing this analysis, we want to identify what are the opportunities available for us, what are the threats we are facing. We know opportunities are normally favorable factors, right? Opportunities are favorable factors which will be helpful to achieve our objectives. Threats, on the other hand, are not favorable factors that act as a barrier to achieve our objective. That may be found outside the organization and act as a barrier to achieve our objectives. Or in other words, I can say harmful. They are harmful to achieve our objectives, right? Now this internal fact here, the objective of analyzing internal environment is, to identify the strength and weaknesses. Now I'm not going to look at about that. That will be addressed in the next chapter. Strength and weaknesses. Now, if you look at about the tools we are going to use to analyze this, when you look at about the microenvironment, so mainly we will use a tool called 5 forces model. 5 forces model that was introduced by Michael Porter. 5 forces model to analyze the microenvironment. 5 forces model will be used to analyze the microenvironment. Right? Yeah, I don't want to discuss this model with you, because this is more related model. Therefore, I don't want to look at about that model. Right? So macro environment, I told you, we will use the pestle model to analyze the macro environment. The broad forces of the economy will be analyzed through the pestle model. Clear? Now, external environment include 2 components, micro and macro. Micro will be analyzed through 5 forces model. Macro will be analyzed through pestle model. Right. Now, actually, if you look at about this 5 forces model, under the 5 forces model, we are going to look at about a particular industry we are operating. Here, under the 5 forces model, we are going to look at about our particular industry. The industry we are operating. Here we look at our particular industry. The objective of using 5 forces model is to determine the attractiveness of our industry. Determine the attractiveness of our industry. Determine the attractiveness of our industry. So mainly there are 5 forces. That's why it is called as 5 forces model. There are 5 forces. Threat of new entrants. There are 5 forces. Threat of new entrants. Threat coming from possible new entrants. Threat of new entrants. Threat of substitutes. Substitutes products. Threat coming from substitutes product. Then bargaining power of customers. Bargaining power of customers. Bargaining power of customers. The demanding power of the customers. Then bargaining power of suppliers. Bargaining power of suppliers. Then rival among existing players. Rivalry among existing players. Existing players. Rivalry among existing players. Right? Rivalry mean competition, no? Competition exist among the existing players. We are going to evaluate these 5 forces in detail in order to determine the industry attractiveness under the 5 forces model. But don't worry, so I'm not going to discuss that model with you. Right? And that will not be tested in your exam. Then you can be very happy, no? Very tough model. Right? My personal experience, sometimes I take more than 4 hours to discuss that model itself. Right? 5 forces. Right? In your case, we are not going to discuss that. Right? So we'll look at about pestle model. So I'm going to look at about this macro environment. Pestle model. Right. Pestle model. Right? If there's an issue, let me know actually. So because I'm not in front of this laptop, so I'm moving. Right? If the slides are not shared like that, or if you can't hear, so online students, please let me know. Right? You can unmute your mic and speak. Right. Now I'm moving to the next pistol analysis. Now you already know for what purpose we are using this pistol analysis, right? So I have told you that pistol will be used to analyze the macro environment. So these normally include growth forces in the economy. Growth forces in the economy. So we use this pistol one to analyze these growth forces. Actually, there are different ways of identify the same. Sometimes I have seen this L and E is changed. Sometimes I have seen this G word is added global. Sometimes I have seen the pest, only the pest, PST is being used. Right? There are different way of identify the same. For your class purpose, we are going to use pestle, PSTEL model to analyze the macro environment. Right. So we'll look at about each force. The first force is political environment. Political environment. So under this political environment, we are going to look at about the prevailing political situation in the country. The prevailing political situation in the country will be considered. How prevailing political environment is going to affect to the organizational activities. For example, how the policies are going to affect to the businesses. If you are conducting or if you are having a domestic business, how can government policies are going to affect it to you? For example, if I take an example, tax rates. Our government is going to use a subsidized rate for your business, for domestic business. If so, that's an opportunity, no? If government is going not to give you a subsidy for you and going to charge a higher tax rate, right? So that's a threat for your survival from business point of view. For example, in the previous tax, we had actually, so SME, there was a different rate. SME, around 14%. Now, what is the rate? Tax rate? Tax, company tax? 30%. 30% rate. Right? So, how this government policy is going to affect it to you? There are no exemption at all now, actually. All businesses are treated in the similar manner. There is no differentiation. If you look at about previous taxes, right? So there were subsidized rate. For example, education institutes was charged at 14%. Right? There was some exemption, but it's not more, not there. Right? So this is example. I've already example for you. How this government policies are going to affect your business. Right? It can be an opportunity, it can be a threat. Right? So then political stability. Political stability. If political stability is there, it's a opportunity. If political stability is not there, it is a threat. How about our opposition behavior? Are they conducting a lot of strike? Are they making the country is a chaotic situations, country to chaotic situations, right? Those affect. Or are they acting very peacefully? That's fine. That's an opportunity for you, right? If they are not acting peacefully, that's a threat, right? Then terrorism. I don't want to talk much on that. You know what we have experienced in our life, right? So tourism industry was affected, for example. So many industries were affected because of this terrorism. And now is more there, hopefully. We don't know, no? Like Saharan again, there may be another guy who come and destroy everything, right? So terrorism. Then economical environment. How economical environment is going to affect? How economical variable is going to affect? Are they creating opportunities for you, or are they going to create a threat for you? Exchange rates. A lot of people are talking about exchange rate these days. A lot of pundits, some people predict it will be 390, 400 at the end of this year. I think yesterday 350. Am I correct? It came down to 310, around 315, and again yesterday 350, because it is now flexible, right? It depends on the demand and supply. Earlier central bank intervened, no? Now there is no intervene like that. Yes, the central bank has allowed market to determine the exchange rate, right? How it is going to affect? So, for example, if you are doing import business, if you are importing some goods and selling, if rupee is strengthened against US dollar, it is a right. But if you think from exporter side, when rupee depreciates, it is an opportunity for you, because your product will be more competitive with the world market. So it depends on the business, nature of the business, right? Nature of the business. Then inflations, right? So increase in general price level, no? That is called inflation, right? Inflations, right? I don't know to talk much on that. Right? You have experience enough the effect of inflation. Do we have hyperinflation? I ask a very simple questions. Hyperinflation. Do we have a hyperinflation in Sri Lanka? What is hyperinflation? The inflation rate should be more than 50%. That the first condition to be fulfilled. It should be more than 50% inflation rate. Have we experienced hyperinflation during the last 12 months? Yes, it's come down, but we have experienced hyperinflations, right? That's not ideal situations, but fortunately the trend has reversed. Now it peaked, and then again now it is coming down, right? So what is expectation at the end of this year? Around 5%. December, around 5% inflation. That is expected level, right? So how inflation is going to affect your business? So it will increase your cost of products, right? People will demand more salaries, right? So, for example, I look at my salary. I found I am getting 30% compared with the previous year, January. 30% compared with the previous year, January salary. I did a calculation. Look at my purchasing ability. It has been reduced by 70%. Right? So, because I was hit through two variable actually. One was inflation, right? We had around we'll say 80% or 100% now. That means automatically 50% down now your income. Am I correct? Right? Your purchasing capacity. Then 36% I am paying 36% tax. Now how can I feel? Right? It is 30% actually. Right? 100 came down to 30%. Right? So my colleagues, how they enjoy. For example, some of them in Kuwait or Middle East. When I had chat with sometime with the guys, I'm shameful about myself. The same people who was in the same university, same batch, or sometimes audit firm and like that, they get around 5 million. I get around 500,000. What difference? They're not paying taxes even. Right, 10% already. Right, they're not paying taxes also. But I have to pay taxes. If you look at Middle East countries, no taxes, no individual taxes. They have this corporate tax. So our situation, we don't want to talk much on that, right? So we are like beggars now. That's the reality now, right? So inflations, then interest rate. Interest rate. right? Interest rate, is that high or low? What is CBSL strategy? High or low? Huh? It is high because CBSL want to reduce the consumption of the people. We want to reduce the inflation. One of the right tool you use is to increase the interest rate. Interest rate is very high. Even you remember last week again they increased by 1%. No, this CBSL having two rates. No, you know, standing right lending facility and other one is standing deposit facility. Right, they have two rates. They increased by 1%. Right, that one they want to. From business point of view, is that good? I forget about business. When interest rate is high, are you going to take a loan? I'm asking a very simple question. Are you going to take a loan? No. Interest rate is when the interest rate is high, it's not a favorable situation. Similar to similar point can be identified with the businesses. They're not going to take loan, right? So inflation, how it is going to interest rate, how it is going to affect the business. If it is low, that's fantastic from business point of view, right? But it may be different story for certain business. You see, investment firms, different story. In that scenario, they prefer to invest in different tools like treasury bonds and get the income. Then it will affect differently. But for a majority, if interest rate is high, it's not good, it's a threat. But interest rate is low, it's an opportunity. You can get loan and do more investment, right? Then GDP growth rate. The increase in our productions. Increase in our productions. GDP growth rate. Last year we have experienced minus around, I think, 8%. I don't remember the exact amount. 8 to be 9, that term, right? We experience a reduction in economy activity. That's not good. People, right? Ability has been reduced. Purchasing ability has been reduced. That affects badly the business. Per capita income has come down again. Balance of payment, we have a minus balance of payment. We don't have right surplus. Our import expenses are more than the export income. Our trading account always minus, right? So balance of payment, we don't have enough excess. Otherwise, we can pay the loans. No, we have fees the paying of loans because we don't have money, foreign currencies, enough foreign currencies, right? In social and cultural environment, social and cultural environment. So we are multi, right, ethnic country. There are different races, religions. So we respect their belief. For example, in Hindus, cow is considered as a sacred animal. Am I correct? Yes, we respect no cow, right? So it's a different story. But Muslim, it's a different story, right? So halal products, no. So this affects the organization activities. Lifestyle, people are very busy. Business may create some opportunities for you, right? So business, for example, fast food industry. It's an opportunity. People are reluctant to cook, no, these days. Am I correct? Right? There's an opportunity for some businesses. Taste, age structure, elderly population is becoming the #1 group in Sri Lanka. So that's an opportunity for certain businesses. Maybe like some healthy fruits, right? There's an opportunity, right? Japan is a different story. Have you heard what has happened in Japan? What has happened to population growth? Positive or minus? Japan? Minus. I heard last week in news, normally for a year, 1.6 million people die, only 800 new births. Last week I heard. Now Japanese people are struggling and they say that the Japanese will go out from the world. So that's an issue for them, right? So negative growth rate. Right? China got a different story, no? Still we have favorable. Right. Right. Then changes in technology. Changes in technology. changes in technology. So that affect to our activities, organizational activities. That affect organizational activities. For example, now think what has happened to PAM. Now, I think about 10 years back. I was here 10 years back, I think, yes. I was completing my master's 10 years back, right? At PAM, all physical classroom. So there were so many students. At that time, actually, only this evening batch was there. No Saturday or Sunday batches. Only the evening batch was there. So we had to physically come to the classes, participate. Right now, I can see only 5 of physical students. Right, only 5 students in physical classroom. So majority participate from online mode. Right. So see what has happened. So change in technology affecting to life, business, right? So some of the businesses are no longer. They fail to adapt to the technology. If you are not adapting, so that will kill you. Very simple, right? So especially with this pandemic, people started to use this technology, no? Right? I have a good example. I was lecturing one of the institute, I remember. There were around 600, 700 students in the class. Right? That is my personal experience. 2 halls, right? 2 floors, physical, right? So around 600, 700 people, sometimes 800 people, 2 hall, right? Screen is being used, right? Then what happened? Pandemic came, right? So I told them, right? So I'm lecturing this subject, no, but I'm not the owner, no, I'm just a facilitator, right? I just go and deliver. I told them, so you have to change the environment. Now you have to come up with good website, right? Should be more customer friendly, students friendly, right? At the same time, there should be LMS. I told them a lot of changes should be done to face the pandemic. They say, oh, I don't know. මේ පැන්ඩමික් පොඩි කාලේ මේක අවුලක් නැහැ මේ ඊට පස්සේ ළමයි ආයිත් ඔබ පුරුදු වෙනවා. They told like how long it remained. You know that how long it was there. From 20, 21, 22 even. Right? So during that time, what happened? People started to use this online mode. Right? You didn't change. Right? I remember last time when I went there, around 10 to 15 people were there. So what has happened? 600, 700 people were there that came down to 10 to 15 for the same class. Right? So what has happened? They didn't adapt themselves. Though there were some new players, competitors. They thought, this institute was there for more than 45 years. So some people show there's an opportunity for online classes. They came up with very good online mode. They were not physically available, even not online available before pandemic. In there, you can see that number, 600, 700 number now, right? There are a few competitors. Physical class, only 10 to 15 people. Fail to adapt to the technology, that will kill you, right? What is expected in the world in the coming 10 years? The technological change will be more faster than the previous 10 years we have experienced, right? So it will be changing very rapidly. We talk about ChatGPT. So in your also last topic, ChatGPT, right? So we think Google will be replaced through ChatGPT. That is assumptions, right? Google will now be replaced through ChatGPT, right? So there are some new technologies, right? We talk about the AI, artificial intelligence. We talk about machine learning. We are talking about robotics, right? Automation is a little bit old term now. Automations, right? There are so many changes are happening in this communication industry. You may be still using Facebook, but young guys may not be using Facebook much now. Am I correct? They may be more prepared to use TikTok. They may get the help of AI, and you can put a lot of things, no changes to your videos, no, right, through this AI app. They are with TikTok, Facebook. They may have heard Facebook. Like that, no. They are not interested about Facebook, right? That's the change happening in the world, right? So we have to adapt as a business, otherwise you will not be survive. Right? I'm sure that you remember that what Da Vinci has mentioned, no? Right? So who will survive in the world? Only the people who adapt themselves, no? Adapt to the change. Others will die. Right? I have to look at myself and I have to evaluate whether do I have the required skill set to survive in commercial world. Right? Do I have the technological knowledge? If I don't have technological knowledge, I have to die. I know I have to die. No other options. I should know technology, right? So from organization point of view, also the same, right? If you look at about some of the organization, you compare. So take a particular industry, and if you ask who is the leader, why they are leader, what is the reason for their leadership? So one of the point is their technological adaptations. They may be applying technology better than others, right? So can you tell me example? What are the examples? You say if I have seen this one, right? I work in two main government banks, no, right? So whenever I have a chat with people so openly talk about private banks. When I ask why you are using private bank, one of the answer is technology. Even app, if you look at about mobile apps, how much it is convenient for you, right? Certain app they're not customer friendly. Additional facilities are given. That's technology adaptations, right? So in some of the banks, actually, physically you don't want to go to start an account. Am I correct? Online you can do that one. Even FD, fixed deposit, no? You can deposit money, staying at home. Right? It's a transfer, no? Money transfer, right? So this adaptation is key. Now there's another variable we are looking about these days: ecological environment. Ecological or environmental, we say ecological environment, this natural environment, how it affects to our business activities. Are they affecting us? Will people be survive? We talk about so many environmental issues. Rise in sea level. People start to talk about earthquake possibilities even in Sri Lanka, right? Then global warming, big issue, global warming. Today when I was traveling, I listened news, right? I was listening news, then I heard in Australia, in one of the river, billions of fish died because of this high temperature, warming, right? See, affect Europe region, what happened, USA, what happened in the previous years, right? So flood, many issues, right? So these are affecting our life. Environment pollutions. I saw last week Colombo air is not good again. I was heard that one. Yes, environment pollution, right? Then legal environment. So legal environment. So how laws are affecting to our organizational activities? There are some tax laws you have to adhere. Earlier also we discussed tax laws. It can be income tax, it can be company tax, it can be VAT, it can be social responsibility levy, right? There are a lot of taxes. You have to pay that. Labor laws, EPF 12%, no? Right? You have to pay 12%, no? You have to reduce 8% from your salary, no? The 12% should be contribute to EPF funds. ETF 3% from the organization point of view. Gratuity. If you have worked more than 5 years in an organization, you are entitled for gratuity, right? Yes or no? Yes. From the last month's salary, half, and multiply by number of years, you have served. Calculator. Chopin office ordinance determine your leaves in private sector employees. How many leaves you are entitled? 45 per year? 45. Right. Chopin office ordinance, how many leaves? 21, no? Yes. 7 casual, no? 14 annual. Then 7 can be taken on consecutive basis, no? Right. Right. So we have discussed about this one. So we'll have a small activity, right? So take 5 minutes, right? Take 5 minutes. Discuss about prevailing Sri Lankan situations related with the question. Then I will select some people randomly and ask them to talk about selected variable. Right? Basically, 2 groups, right? Both of you can discuss. Then these can discuss. Right? I will allow you 5 minutes. Right, shall we discuss? Are you ready? Not yet. Right, we'll give another 2 minutes, final 2 minutes. Final 2 minutes. I think there are no issues from online students. Now you can hear me properly, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will give another 1 minute for you to complete this assignment. This exercise will try to finish within 1 minute. So now I think time is enough now. Right. So first of all, right, who is going to take the opportunity? Shall we start from left hand side? So you can talk about the Well, maybe taking 2 minutes.
When consider the multiple factors, have and many changes occurred due to the government policy when the government
Can't we hear, sir?
when a government is changed, all the policies that they have taken into the account also change rapidly. For an example, when there is President Mahinda Rajapaksa, he took Mahinda Singh as his policy, and when changed, then Saubhagya, like fine. When changing the government, the policies also rapidly change. When as the government servant, it is very difficult to handle with those changes. That's about the political instability, political sector.
What is the variable you prefer to discuss? Social. Oh, economic. Economic is much easier. We can talk much.
Talk about economic factors that has affected our country. So you can observe high inflation and unstable as well. So this high inflation and also the low per capita income of individuals has made the lifestyle of Sri Lankan people very difficult, and it is going down day by day, and makes the situation for the ordinary people of the country. And interest rates are high, and also they are also unstable. Therefore, no one will need to get loans and to invest, and also foreigners are reluctant to come here for investment. And because of these factors, tourism is also in danger. Another factor we have identified as a group is brain drain. A lot of educated people are migrated, and therefore there will be no proper qualified people for jobs in the country. Therefore, it will affect the economy, and high rates of taxes. And also we talked about unemployment. As the investors, there are lack of investors, and also lack of profits. The employers tend to actually throw out people, and therefore unemployment can be identified. And these high exchange rates also a negative factor. And another factor we have identified is that the less savings of the country.
Right. Then we'll pick two online participant also. SW Jayasekara. So can you speak on this technological environment? 80 number 80. Person is not available. Hello.
So excuse me, shall I volunteer? So excuse me, shall I volunteer?
Yeah, you can speak on that.
I'm going to talk about environmental factors. High temperature is also a problem for Sri Lanka, and rising sea level is also a problem. And mountain landslides, we saw last few years, people die due to mountain landslides. And also solid waste problem is huge problem in Sri Lanka. We saw due to solid waste mountain slides, people die in Sri Lanka. So solid waste problem is also problem. And under environmental pollution, sea pollution and coastal pollution is also a problem. Thank you.
Right. I think we don't have to take the fourth one. Right. I think some of you have talked about economical environment, political environment, and ecological environment. Yes. Some of them you talk about even this brain drain is an issue, right? Yes. Have you experienced brain drain within your organization? People are leaving. This younger.
Yes, sir. Most of the teachers are going to the abroad. It is affected to our school system, sir.
That's good now. Right. So yes, so that may be the second challenge I think Sri Lanka is facing. But unfortunately, I think many people leave without proper evaluations. So they struggle again. That is what I have experienced. For example, in my team, we had 16 chartered accountants, 8 left, 50% of chartered accountant left. So, but unfortunate thing is most of them are struggling because they just thought the best option is to migrate without proper evaluations, right? So especially some countries like UK, people are really struggling. So UK inflation is around 18%, right? Last week I remember one of my students called me, who is living in UK, and told me so that the stress is unbearable. That was it was huge and very difficult to live, right? And see that sometimes I feel I want to die. I look at this environment because right they leave those countries without proper evaluations, right? Because very difficult to get the PR in countries like UK. Inflation is very high, very difficult to find jobs, and many people leave to do some higher studies. What they do is like MSU, MBA, like that. But survival is an issue, right? Yes. So what you have told me is correct. That will be the second problem we are going to face. But I hope that with this economic recovery, to some extent, I think economy is recovering. I think maybe after 6 or 7 months, this problem will be reduced to some extent. That is what I have believed. If tourists come more, for example, compared with the last year, I think tourist arrival has doubled. Am I correct? For February, for example, last year 200,000, this year 400,000. It's double. So this that means we get more foreign currencies. Then at the same time, I think there were a lot of export proceeds which were parked in some other countries. In recent past, that also came to Sri Lanka. And if these things are settled to some extent, I think the economy will be okay, right? So anyway, hope for better, no? Right. So let's we should have the hope, right? So in your exam, so now you have a practical experience on this one. So I can test this one, I hope, right? This is not a right difficult one, right? So then we'll have a
Sir,
15 minutes.
can I ask question?
Yeah.
Sir, health is issue, I think. Can it be in social or cultural sector?
Health.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can take under that one.
Okay.
Right. So we'll have a 15-minute break, 10 till 10:50. After that, we'll continue. Right, welcome back to the session. Any questions? Any concern? Are you satisfied about the course? So do you want to make some changes? It's up to you. It's the maturity group, and accordingly will do the adjustment. There was a concern about whether open book or closed book, right? So from my end, no issue. If you say open book, if you are prefer, then I am ready to go open book. Right. So open book mean you can bring this cute given. That's enough. No need to bring some other books. That's enough. So I'm not going to deviate from this, right? I will prepare the paper based on that. That is very easy, I think. Can understand very simple note is there. My own note, therefore, make it very easy. And whenever I can, I have included example related with your industry. So customization have been done everywhere. You can see a lot of example have been given related with your industry. So we'll make it as open book to more prefer. Only my concern is in the application. So I don't know whether you are in a position to address the application. Right. When it is closed book, practically the examiner can give more theory based paper or test your knowledge. But open book, what happens is approach should be changed, should be more application based questions. Right. Anyway, it's up to you. Right. The majority agree with that. No. So there are some team leaders now. They can discuss and let me know. Today, do we have any team leader? No. Right. There are 11 now. 10 team leaders. They can discuss and decide and let me know. With my colleague, I will make it. Right. Right. But I don't think so. It's very tough. These things, because right, these are very simple stuffs, not difficult things. Calculation is always difficult. Am I correct? For example, I'm going to talk about investment appraisal with you. Then I have to do a lot of right things with you, and it will be much tougher exercise for you. But things like this normally easy. Right. Right. So with that understanding about Pestel, then we'll move to the next one. So we'll move to the next one, this competent industry analysis. Competent industry analysis. Right. So at the beginning, I told you external environment can be divided two main part, micro environment and the macro environment. So we analyze the macro environment through Pestel analysis. Now here we are going to look at about how can we analyze our micro environment. So I told you micro environment normally include more influential stakeholders. That's the word I use, right? More influential stakeholders. So when I look at about this micro environment, so we can look at about two variables. One is we can look at about our competitors. You know who is a competitor? Competitor is one who perform similar activities to our organization. They perform similar activities to our organizations. If I look at about private education, I can say Gateway is a competitor to Lyceum International. Very simple example, right? So even government organization, you can say that Lyceum is a competitor for you, right? For example, Colombo, if you analyze, what I have seen is right, even market insight, what I have seen is when I look at a Sunday Times Observer, I rarely see a right letter from or article from a government organization related to that. But you can see at least last week I saw Lyceum 3 articles, right? This marketing part, right? So I saw one article, they have talked about some Daham Pasal, they have established in Gampaha, right? Sunday school. In another article, I saw that they talk about one of the cricketer who has been selected for under 19 team. Right? See the way that they are doing marketing. I remember two articles. I just going through carefully when I reading newspapers. Right? So from government organization point of view, you must think that Lycem is a competitor. Am I correct? So last week, for example, when the teachers are striking, in the school, no strike. Right? Their kids are learning then how these kids are going to compete in the real environment. Right? So competitor, you look at about this competitor very carefully. You look at what are the strength of the competitor. That should be carefully analyzed. If you don't have those strengths, then you have to develop those strengths within you. And you have to look at about what are the strategies these people are applying in the marketplace. Right? Strategies. So we have to carefully look at about that and learn something from them. Right? Then life cycle analysis. Normally this life cycle analysis means when we are having few products, we have to carefully analyze those products. What is the life stage those products are in? So there is a model called product life cycle. PLC, we call it as PLC, product life cycle. We look at about their relative stage in the market. Like human being. So we pass different stages no, in life. So initially we start from the birth, no? Am I correct? Birth. Then there was a period people call you as infant. Am I correct? Now no one is going to call you infant if you have no. If you have done some infant work, then people talk on that, right? Otherwise, no one is going to call you as infant, right? Then teenager. There's a period, no? Teenager, right? Child, teenager, right? The young, maturity, right? So elderly, in die, right? Finally, die, no? Am I correct? Yes. Height of God, Madhimi or in right? But a life cycle. So that can also happen, right? So there are products also, what happened? They die, suddenly die. Like we'll say, for example, technological changes. You fail to adapt to technological changes. There's a new technology came into the world and you fail to adapt. You say Google, for example, right? You are in the, you say, mature stage. What happened is, we say ChatGPT came and Google failed to adapt that. Suddenly, what happened to Yahoo Mail? Do you remember what has happened to Yahoo Mail? So nowadays we use Yahoo Mail, right? Then what happened? I am sure no one is using Yahoo Mail now. I'm sure everyone is using Google, is Gmail, right? So what happened? Failed to adapt themselves to the new technology, right? So like that, there are some different stages the product pass. Normally, that is analyzed through product life cycle model. Right? There are 4 stages related to the product life cycle. PLC, product life cycle, PLC. So there are 4 stages. Introductions, then growth, maturity, decline, right? So normally there are 4 stages in relation to product: introductions, growth, maturity, then decline. So ultimately what happened? Product will die. So there's a beginning, then right? Actually, these stages in a product life cycle normally we identify with the sales pattern. We look at about how sales behave with the time, right? How sales behave with the time. Accordingly, we identify 4 stages: introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. Right. So anyway, don't worry. So I'm not going to test this one, right? So we are not going for a detailed discussion on this. Just to introduce this. Right. Then the next thing is Can't hear? Is online students can't hear?
Can, sir, we can hear.
Then, no? Okay. Then the next one is product portfolio analysis. Product portfolio analysis. So what is a portfolio now? Portfolio is a collection of units. Normally, portfolio is a collection of units. Collection of unit. For example, if you are an investor in share market, you may maintain a share portfolio. Share portfolio. You purchase shares of some companies, right? So you may identify some risk, high risk companies. You may identify some low risk companies, and then you have you may have purchased some shares, right? That is called share market portfolio view, right? Similar to that, in organizations, what we do is we maintain a product portfolio. If you look at about organization, what they do is they offer few products to the marketplace. Few products to the marketplace, right? Few products to the marketplace. Now, if I take, we'll say international school, for example, if I take Lyceum, for example, they have Montessori. Government education ministry, do they have Montessori? Huh? Have. Some, right? So, you see, it's a portfolio. This is a Montessori, right? Then school, campus. Lyceum is having a campus also. So when I was passing to people, I saw they have a campus. Lyceum campus at yes, they have a campus. Now see, 3 different products they offer to the marketplace, right? So as a private institution, they right. So offer 3 main products to the marketplace, education institutes. So education means to also have a portfolio. Am I correct? Government school, universities, then tertiary educational institutes. There are different type of products the education means to offer to the marketplace. So you have to analyze them. What is their current situations? We can use the BCG metric for that purpose. BCG metric for that purpose. But with you, I'm not going to discuss it. Right? Just to know only. Right? I'm not going to discuss that one. In this BCG metrics, actually what we do is we look at about the market share and the industry growth rate. We have 2 variables. One is market share, other one is industry growth rate. Market share and the industry growth rate. Industry growth rate, based on that, we identify 2 options under each variable. We identify 2 options under each variable. For example, say growth rate, for example, it can be low or high, low or high. Then on the other hand, market share can be low or high. Industry growth rate can be low or high, then market share can be low or high. Based on that, we can identify 4 options. Now, one option is industry growth rate is low, at the same time market share is also low. This type of unit we call it as DOG in this BCG matrix. That is called as DOG. Then there may be some unit, their market share is high, but the growth rate is very low, right? That is called cash cow. Cash cow in BCG metric. Cash cow, then there may be some unit, their market share is low, but growth rate is very high. Industry growth rate of them is very high. They call it as star. Right? Then at the same time, there may be some unit, their market share is high. Sorry, mistake. Market share is low, but growth rate is high. This is question mark. This is question mark. question mark, or sometimes we call same as problem child. Problem child. Right? Problem child. Then market share is high, then growth rate is high. They are called it as star. We start right? So here similar thing, right? Right. So anyway, you don't know, you don't want to know this from your exam point of view, right? Just to use, there's a tool called BCG metric, which can be used to analyze your unit, right? That knowledge purpose only, I just introduced that part, right? Then another model we can use is Porter's 5 forces model. Already, I think I have introduced that part. I told you Porter's 5 forces model can be used to determine the industry attractiveness. Whether the industry you are in is attractive or not can be determined by using Porter's 5 forces model. So industry attractiveness can be determined by using Porter's 5 forces model. Industry attractiveness. Right. Right. So we'll look at about this microenvironment also. Microenvironment. So at the beginning, we identified that our external environment consists of 2 main elements, micro and macro environment. Right. So this microenvironment normally include the close factors. Close factors. We are going to look at about the close stakeholders in relation to us. Close stakeholders, right? You know who is a stakeholder? Stakeholder is someone who is having an interest about the organizational activity. They are concerned what is happening within the organization. They have some sort of an interest, right? Some sort of interest. For example, customers, they are worrying about the business activities. Why? If something happened to the organization, that affect to them, right? For example, parents are worried about education ministry. Am I correct? What are the changes happening in there, right? So teachers, for example, so what is education ministry is doing these days? They will be worried. The parents will be worried about that one. So what happened to their children's future? They are worried, no? Right? So competitors worrying about what is going in the government school. I saw that in the Royal for the first year, I saw that only less than 600 applications. Is that true? I saw news article like that. Something has happened. That means people have lost the trust about some of the government schools, right? So I think Royal is a very good school, right? Last few weeks back, one of my friends called me. His child got the Island Person 50-year scholarship. He had a problem whether he want to put his child into Royal College or not. I say you must. You are trying to getting opinion from me, so you must put your child in there, right? So I don't know what type of decision he has taken. Right? Now I think already they may have communicated. No? I don't know. They have selected schools, no, not yet. Right? So see, right? So very simple example I'm telling you, right? You have to closely look at about what the competitors are doing, right? So that is another part. Even government school should learn from private school, right? There may be some good things from them, and you have to absorb those things. There are some people out of the box and thinking, am I correct? even government school. I saw last week one article relevant to some of these distant schools, distant region, this Moragal area. I saw the strategies they have applied in some school, even night classes, right? What they have done for the O levels and A levels, right? So they had a separate program, and in the past it was improved drastically. Fantastic, right? Out of the box thinking. Maybe captured from some right. Look at it for the market, what is happening. Even tuition college, no, maybe competent to replace that one. Then you don't want to go tuition classes, no, right? So competitors, employees, right? So here, see, I told you that there's a debate whether we should include them under the internal environment or micro environment. Here it is included in the micro environment. Don't worry on that, right? Employees that affect, right? So employee can destroy an organization, no? They have not fulfilled their requirement. Then shareholders, right? They have put the money into the business and they are interested. Who is your shareholder? Education ministry. Huh? Government, no? That means general public. Right? So government, suppliers are interested about business activities. Media interested. So if something happens, they publish that one, no? Openly. Right. So here I have given an example. External environmental analysis for education institute. Do you agree? Read what is there. Do you agree what is given here? An example for external analysis for an education institutes. Is population growth rate is affecting to you? Now see Japan, what has happened? Now there will be no kids for school. Then you have to close down some of the schools. Right? In Sri Lanka also, no, there are a lot of schools, no, less than 50 students even. Am I correct? So that affect population growth rate is affecting to you. Right? Then funding, is that affecting to you? Yes. Right? Funding is another example. Right? So what about economic conditions? When the parents are not having enough economic capacity, what happens? So they will not send the kids to the schools, no? They will stop, right? The technological factors affect into educations. Government, right? I think government changed, no? During the pandemic time, you started to teach, no? Kids through Zoom or Team, no? Use both, no? Zoom and Team, right? Yes, most of the government schools started that one, right? Technological environment affecting. Are you using that one yet? Yes, still you are using. That means night some of the session like that. That's fantastic, no? So voluntarily, no, you are giving service. Fantastic, right? So see, this is how this technology has been adapted by you, right? Then political environment. So earlier also you mentioned, no, how this political environment affect to you. Sometime what happened when new government come, all these policies, the strategic plan, throw it out and prepare a new one, new term, ne? Kika jadi project ini nih. Langkong pasal lagi, ini yang penting nih, langkong pasal modal pasal mereka dino tama, langkong pasal modal pasal il di mereka. Not there, right? So that change, right? See these competitions, you have to evaluate the competitors. What are the plus point, minus point, right? So social and cultural factors. So what are these trends, social and cultural trends? Now, do they I saw even there are some trends. Sometimes there are some parents, they don't believe they should not send kids to the school. I saw one example. Have you seen that one? I saw that mother teacher the 3 kids. Have you seen that one? Right? So what are the trends? Now people have lost the trust. So what people believe, right? So these are affecting attitudes toward these government schools, right? So next, environment factors, right? How these natural disasters, climate change affect to operations. If earthquake, what will happen? Tsunami, what happened? So you know that, no, that affects the school educations. Aren't you here? I think you can hear.
We can hear, sir.
Okay. Right. So with that, we can conclude the sessions. Right. Do you have any questions? This online participant, do you have any questions about what we have discussed? Relatively short topic, no? Right. I make it short. I didn't discuss about 5 forces, then product life cycle. Then
Excuse me, sir.
yeah.
Can you explain that cash cow concept according to the education system, please?
Yeah, cash cow actually, what you have to do is you have to look at about the products you are having. Right? We'll say, for example, if I take, we'll say simple private educational institute. Right? If I take, we'll say they have a Montessori. Right? They have a, we'll say international school, and then they have a university. They have to look at about what is the product stage now. For example, if I take Lyceum, for example, campus was recently established. The last year they established that one. So in that scenario, what happened is, so they are in the induction stage. They have not experienced the growth stage yet. Like they have just commenced the operations, right? But if you look at about the international school, they are at the maturity stage. They may be at the maturity stage. And even Lyceum, there are some issues according to my study. For example, I saw recently the parents are demanding to continue with this Cambridge, I think. They have introduced Excel, no? Right? So, so a lot of issues maybe in the mature stage. Soon, sometime they may experience decline stage, right? We don't know, right? So then, if you look at about Montessori, maybe in the growth stage. I saw that they are establishing different Montessori in different places in the country. I saw even Kadwila, they have established new one in different places, Montessori's, right? Daycare center, yes, daycare also, right? That may be daycare center, I think in the instruction stage, no? They've just introduced this daycare center. For example, Panthur I know that they introduced last year, daycare center, right? So like that, right? So what happened is, right? So you analyze your portfolio, the unit you are having, and you look at about what is the stage they are in. Accordingly, you take decision, right? But I didn't go for detailed discussions, right? I need 1 hour to discuss that. It is out of my scope actually, out of your syllabus scope. That's why I didn't go for a detailed discussion. Is that okay for you? That will not be covered within your syllabus. Just to introduce that, is a tool called product life cycle that can be used to analyze your unit. That's the purpose. The question, the students who have raised the question, is that okay for you?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right. Any more questions? Don't worry about product life cycle or BCG. I didn't discuss that. Right? Right. So, any more questions? Do you have any questions? You are okay. Right. Then with that, we'll move to the next topic. Right. Then we are moving to the next topic, strategic positions. So under this particular topic, we are going to look at about our internal environment. Here the objective is to evaluate our internal environment. Our internal environment. So we know about our internal environment. Normally, the objective of analyzing our internal environment is to identify strengths and weaknesses. Objective of analyzing our internal environment is to identify strengths and weaknesses. Remember that one, right? Right. So we'll look at about this one a little bit in details. Now, within this particular topic, I'm going to look at about 5 main areas: value chain, resources and competences, dynamic and redundant capabilities, then benchmarking. Then finally, I will look at about SWOT and TROS also, TROS, TOWS. Actually, SWOT and TROS are not actually only the internal environment analysis. That's the summary of both internal and external environment analysis. Summary of both internal and external environment analysis is called SWOT or TROS metrics. Right. Even though I have included that one under strategic position, so that's the summary of both external environment analysis and the internal environment analysis. Right. Right. So now, before I'm coming back to the value chain topic, now I told you the objective of this topic is to evaluate our internal environment. You know what is internal environment? Internal environment include any party, factor, force within the organization. Internal environment include any party, factor, force within the organizations. What you can identify within the organizations. Now, the objective of conducting internal environment analysis is to identify strengths and weaknesses. You know what is strength and weaknesses? Strength is normally favorable internal factors, right? Favorable internal factors. Then weaknesses are normally unfavorable internal factors, which are not helpful to achieve our objectives. Now, within this strategic position topic, we are going to evaluate our internal environment in details. We look at what is inside of the organization in details, right? So it may include different resources, different processes, right? So we are going to look at about them carefully. Then ultimately we want to identify our strength and weaknesses. That's the objective. Right. When we are looking at this, one of the tools we can use to look at about our internal environment is value chain. Value chain. Value chain model. Right. Value chain model. Now, what is this value chain? If you look at about the value chain normally describe value creating activities within an organization. Value creating activities within an organization. Within an organization. Value creating activities within an organization. Right? Right. So here I have included the diagram introduced by the Michael Porter. This is Porter's value chain. Right? Normally value chain mean what is normally value chain? Value chain mean right activities within the organizations. So we look at about what are the different activities we are having within an organization. When you take them together, we call it as value chain. Chain. We use the word value chain. Why we use the word chain? You know what is chain? Chain means connected, no? Connected each other. That's why it is called value chain. එමනේ බල්ලා වදින චේන් එකකින් නේද බල්ල අර බල්ලාගේ චේන් එකක් තියෙන්නේ නේ ඒකේ පොතල කෑල්ල කෑල්ල එකතු වෙලානේ තියෙන්නේ නේ එහෙම නේද yes right so similar to that within this value chain we identify value creating activities within an organization. So here for a demonstration purpose I have included the value chain model of the Michael Porter's value chain model. Right, this is a common one. This Michael Porter's value chain model is common to any organizations. It's a common one. This is more. Remember, this is more related with manufacturing organization. This is more related with manufacturing organization. Manufacturing, right? Manufacturing organizations. Right. If you look at about the Porter's value chain, Porter's had identified two main activities. Any organization is having. Two main activities. One is primary activities. Other one is support activities. Primary activities and support activities. Primary activities. Other one is support activities. What is primary? Primary. Here, the primary being activities which are directly concerned with production and marketing of a product. Activities directly concerned with production and marketing of a product. Right? Those are directly connected activities. These are directly connected activities. Then if you look at the support activities, these are not directly connected with the product or service, but they facilitate the primary functions. So in other words, they help proper functioning of the primary activities. They help proper functioning of the primary activities. Right. Now, in relation to a business entity, now see for manufacturing organizations, you can identify five primary activities. Five primary activities. These are the five primary activities. Right? Five primary activities. I use one important word. I told you this is a general model, no? Right? The general model introduced by Michael Porter. And I use another additional word, right? This is more related with manufacturing organizations. Right? Two keywords. Right. Now that's why inbound logistics is there. For a manufacturing organization, what is inbound logistics? Inbound logistics. Here, see, inbound. We are talking about something come into the organization. What normally come into the organization? It is raw material, right? Normally come into the organization is raw material. Now here there are few activities taking place. Receiving material from suppliers. Receiving material from suppliers. So when you have purchased raw material, then we have to bring raw material into the organizations. Maybe we may use a lorry, for example, right? Then we transport them into the organizations, right? So when we receive the raw material, we are not going to use it immediately for the production work. So until it is required for the production work, we have to store them. We have to keep them in a storeroom. Another activity connected here is handling and storing them. We have to store this raw material until it is required for the production work. Then, whenever it is demanded by the production people, or in other words, when it is required for the production work, we have to deliver them into the production unit. That's the next activity. Right? So receiving, storing, then retrieving it and distributing, in other words, to the production department. 3 activities actually. අරනික සරල කතාවක් තියෙන්නේ. අමුද්‍රව්‍ය ටික ගෙනෙන එකයි ඊට පස්සේ ගෙනාපු ගමන් අපි ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් එකට ගන්නෙ නෑ. මේක ස්ටෝර් රූම් එක තියෙනවානේ. ස්ටෝර් රූම් එක තියලා ඊට පස්සේ ආයිසරයක් මේක ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් එකට ඕරු වුණාම මොකද කරන්නේ? අර ස්ටෝර් රූම් එකෙන් ප්‍රොඩක්ෂන් යුනිට් එකට මේක distribute කරනවා. Right? So those are the 3 normally cover under that. In operations, the operation means the manufacturing work. The input is converted into output. We normally use machines, right? Through the machine, we convert raw material into output, finished good, in other words. That is called operation activity. This is a manufacturing work where input is converted into outputs. Then outbound logistic. See, here we talk about something going out from the organization. Inbound logistics, we talk about something which come into the organizations. What is going out from the organization? It should be finished goods, right? At the end of the operation, we have finished good, right? So then what we do is, again, under the outbound logistics, again, there will not be a customer in front of us when we have produced the good, no? There's a time period. So until customer demanded, we have to keep that one within the organization, right? Store again, store them. The finished good should be stored until it's required by the customers. When customer demand it, then we have to distribute it. Distribute it. So this is coming out from the organization. That's why it is called outbound logistics. Then marketing and sales. Marketing and sales. What is marketing and sales? So what is marketing? It's all about informing customers about the goods and services organization is having and persuade them to buy it. Influence it to buy it. That is marketing and sales. Right? For example, when you have seen an advertisement, for example, you say 1 buy 1 free. What do you feel? Automatically, please mute your mic. Online, no? Right. Right. So marketing is all about inform good and service to the customers and influence them to buy it, persuade them to buy it. For example, sales promotion is a persuading activity. So promotion activity, when you see 25% discount, you feel good to buy it, right? I today morning got a message, sales promotion message from NDB credit card, 25% discount at Goma. Right? Then what do you feel? It's ideal time, you must go to the Goma, not for the other supermarket. Right? Sales promotion, no? It persuades you to buy it. Right? Then service. Service means activities which take place after we have sold the product. These are after sales activities. For a certain product, you have to install the product. If you have purchased IT system, for example, you have to install that one within the organization, right? Then maybe training, another example. You have to train the staff after you have purchased the products. Maybe customer care, another example. Whenever customer is having questions, there should be a customer call center. For example, when you have a problem in your mobile connection, what you do? You call center, no, and get the solutions that come under the service activity according to this Porter's value chain model. Right. Then the next one is support activities. support activities. What are support activities? There are 4 support activities: procurement, technical development, human resource management, firm infrastructure. There are 4 support activities. These are not directly connected with the product or service. These help primary activities. These are supporting activities. This procurement mean activities related with purchasing of material and other items from suppliers. Item, right? Procurement mean activity related with purchasing of material and other items from suppliers. For an example, now in school, there should be procurement activity regarding printing textbooks. Am I correct? You have to call tenders, right? You have to call tenders, then you have to evaluate tenders, and then you have to select someone. Oh, we'll say school need to buy computers. Then what you do is there's a procedure you have to apply, no? Right? Then you have to look at about the product specification first. Product specification, then you prepare a tender document, then publish to the general public that there is a requirement like this, we'll say 1,000 computers or 10,000 computers. Then you have to hand over their quotations, no? Right? Then you evaluate that, no? Evaluate and then select the supplier. Right? So that particular activity is called procurement. This is supporting activity. Right? Then technology development. Technology development actually related with the technology. Technology development. Normally, for example, IT department, activities of the IT department come under this. Activity related to the research and development, R&D, come under this. Technology development. R&D, IT departments. For example, innovations. It's an activity that drive the organization to get some competitive advantage. Innovations. Right? So that is come from R&D department in the organizations. Then human resource management, very important one. So it deal with human resource in the organizations. They have the responsibility to attract the most suitable employees into the organization. You recruit the best people into the organization, then you train them and develop them, and the most important, retain them. There should be a good strategy to retain them, right? Retain them. Then, I don't need to explain much. I think your experience. For example, say if you are not paid a good salary, what will happen? You will leave, right? So especially in economic environment like this, you ask them why your colleagues are leaving, what is the number one answer? Can't survive with these economic situations. So we have a dire situations, no? Am I correct? So not a friendly scenario. That should be number one, no? Am I correct? Yes. The career level is very low, no? Teachers and others. Am I correct? Yes. Less than 100,000? Huh? Yes. Not enough for survival, no? Right? Then you leave. Right? So automatically happen. These young guys don't want to stay so long in the same place. They need promotion very quickly, no? Am I correct? Yes, they need promotion very quickly, right? So these factors accumulate for that one. This HR handling that. Firm infrastructure, right? Firm infrastructure. So this normally include planning, finance, quality control, and general administrations. Normally, I saw in one nice definition in one of the book regarding firm infrastructure. Any activity which is not covered within the value chain should come under this. Very simple one, right? Firm infrastructure. Any activity is not covered in other activities should come under firm infrastructure. Correct, no? Right? So then planning is very important. Finance is very important one. So I'm financial proficient, right? My activity is coming on this, right? So this firm infrastructure, quality controls, very important one. The organized structures, culture, general administration, those things come under that, right? Anyway, now what do you think about applicability of this model to your industry? Can you apply this one as it is to your industry? Now that's the number one thing, right? You have to concern, you have to concern. What do you think? I told you at the beginning, this is more related with manufacturing organizations. This is a common model. What we have to do is we don't want to worry. From this we can get an idea. So what are the common activities which can be found in organizations? Then we have to look at about what are the activities which are in our organizations, right? What are the activities which are in our organization? Some of them may be there, right? For example, IT department may be there, right? Am I correct? Finance may be there, right? So accounting, you have accounts department, right? Accounting may be there. Marketing, do we have marketing department in the education department? No, no marketing. Should have, no? With this new trends, we have to change ourselves, right? Marketing, R&D, I think last time someone told that R&D is there. That's quite good, no? Right? Then you may have curricular development, for example, right? There may be some project activities may be handled by separate division, department, right? Then general administration may be there, HR should be there, HR, personal department, or HR department, what is you are called? Personal or HR, right? So you have civil activities within your organizations. Right. These are some of the examples given. Look at this example given. This is for educational institute. Infrastructure. Now think PM, for example, is educational institute. So what are the infrastructure they should have? They should have classroom, library, administrative office, right? Then human resources. So what are the human resources? Should have skill and dedicated teaching staff, administrative personnel manage the operation of the institute, provide quality education. That is the key, no? Right? Then there should be a recruitment department. There should be a right activity going through that one, right? Registration department or curriculum development. You have to develop syllabuses. Curriculum development department. Teaching and learning. So how it should be practically happening, no? It's another major activity, main activity, teaching and learning. Right. Then assessment and evaluations. You have to evaluate students, both students and teachers. Teachers evaluation is going on, no? Am I correct? Then you evaluate, no? And decide whether it's good or not. Right? Yes, that is happening. Right? It should be there. Student evaluation is done through tests. Am I correct? Yes. Right? Exam, no? Right. So monthly tests are there. Do we have a monthly test? Content evaluation is there. Monthly test and then term test. Both are there. Right. Do you have spot test? Spot test? Sometimes you have spot test. Good. Right. You can replace the for universities. There are no monthly test or term test. Only spot tests. If teacher think, they give an exam. That's good, no? They might be in term test. Right. At any time you test. Right. Then you remove that stress students are facing. Am I correct? Right? Yes. The most important thing is to make balanced people. Am I correct? Yes. Someone who is capable of doing everything. Is this what I have seen is many people don't have emotional intelligence. EI is not there. can't deal with others. They are really good in achieving targets, individual targets, but unfortunately fail to work in a team. Right? A good example. What happened when I was working in one of the organization, we normally have a interview and then get some trainees, right? Then what happened in the interview, there was a girl who got the highest mark, right? Girl from one of the school course again. I'm not going to tell the name, right? So got the highest mark in the interview. English is fine, fantastic, speak really nice. 3 A's, 9 A's, like that. So you have all the qualifications. But when I put that person into the work, what happened? Every time the team leader came and told me, "Ha, mata nang epa meha. I don't want this guy." What happened is unable to interact with others. Unable to interact with others, right? Very bad employee. So you can achieve your own target, but in a society environment, fail to deal every time. So ultimately, what I had to do is there was a one mature employee in the organization nearing retirement. I put this person under that particular person purview. Then I told that person, don't try to lead this person, just act as a mentor only. Right? That person should be given the freedom to do their work. There is no supervisor in that scenario because can't work with a supervisor. Right? Right. So then industry partnership, very important. You have to connect with different institutions. Right? Then this internship, research project, job placement. This government school don't have, I think, this training program yet. You wait until they go to universities. Am I correct? Even maybe 2 or 3 month training for each students can be introduced. So out of box, look at what others going to do in the world, and they introduce that part. Maybe 3 month training, compulsory, right? You have to get 3 month training, right? Part of A level, right? You have to get the respective industry training, right? Right. Then continuous improvement. So you have to, there should be a process in the organization that try to introduce some changes continuously. There should be department activity taking place in the organizations. Right. Any questions from this value chain? So what I have suggested is customization is required, right? Based on your institutes. Right here, the example I have done a customization to your industry. Right. Anything else you can add here? Shall I give you 5 minutes and let me know some additional functions you think education institute have? Let me know what are the additional functions education institute have. 5 minute discussions. Then I will randomly select 2 and ask them question. In addition to what is given here, what you believe it should be there. There are 9 activities I have given now. It should be there in an education institute. What do you think? Additionally, what are the other things they should have? Ready? Right. So we'll start from first group.
So here 40% for sales. The other one is just how not the other one is not
I think one suggested was to have more quality assurance. Am I correct? Quality control and assurance. Someone who monitor the activities. Then that will help you to identify the weaknesses and at the same time the improvement can be incorporated on continuous basis. Right. The community connectivity is another aspect highlighted. So you have to connect with the community. So many issues with especially at village level. This kids issues actually can be solved if you have good connectivity with the parents. No? Yes. Then marketing. You believe marketing is required. Yes, that's fantastic. Right. Then from other group, so what are the things that you are suggesting?
actually the project based on the cabinet and co-curricular activities to develop the regular
Even I saw recently this in one of the school I saw that this human library was introduced. I was seeing that one. In one of the school human library, good concepts, right? This human library concept mean you ask someone experienced guy to come, and then you right share the right experience of that guy with the kids. Right, you give opportunity. Fantastic, actually. You can implement. So that may be a part of right some improvement you suggested. No processes that continuous basis you can introduce that one, right? Because certain things you come to know from your experience. Am I correct? So, right, when some professional come and deliver, we'll say for LOL students, these are the things that right I have experienced in my life. These are the future potential you have. Then they get the points, right? So my personal experience, especially with dealing with these A-level students, A-level means after the A-level, when I ask certain questions, these guys don't have any idea. Even this career path, they don't have right clear idea, right? So they can identify new path, no? So someone talk about this artificial intelligence, AI. Yes, this Python is right normally teach in the school. Am I correct? No. Yes, no. Python. Yes, yes. Those things, no. Those are required. The Python knowledge is really important when you talk about artificial intelligence, AI. This continuous basis, you have to introduce new things, no, right? Right. So that is one of the suggestions. Right, good. Then we'll look at about the next part also. Right, there's another one slide. We'll try to discuss this also. Right. So using the value chain concept to add value. How can we use this value chain model to add value? So one is by using this one, you can get an understanding what are the activities we have. For example, when you look at about the processes in your school or in your educational institute or educational ministry, for example, you can know what are the activities currently we have. This value chain try to identify the activities within the organization. No? So this will help us to identify what are the activities we have. Then the next thing is when you go in depth and when you look at about each activity, you may be in a position to identify what are the activities we can improve. So when you do this one in practical environment, you may identify certain issues within your activities, then you can come up with some suggestions. Now you look at about activities you are having, then you come up with some suggestions. And you think that marketing is not enough, you think that community engagement is not enough, and you think that quality assurance is not enough, then you think those activities should be added. So by using this particular model, so the next thing we can do is we can identify the ways of improving the activities.